Welcome everybody to another week of Game Wisdom Live, where we update about what's been going on and have a chat about game design and industry topics. I'm still Josh Bycer, and this is the week of July 13th, 2017. Hope everyone had a great 4th of July for the U.S. audience here. And join me again, my co-host, streamer and co-founder of Indie Voyage, Rob Leach.
Hello, how's it going?
Hi Rob, it's great to talk to you again this week. I know you are getting ready for your move in about a month. How are you doing? Ooh. Think we may have lost Rob?
Nope, I'm here. Sorry. I keep it on mute just in case I have breathing noises or whatever. But yeah, it's going well. It's just coming up way too quickly for my taste.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Around here, things are moving steadily by. I'm just going to make a quick announcement to let people know we are live right now. There we go. And hopefully we can get some people joining. Although we are, for those of you watching this recorded, we are doing this, it looks like it's about to be a storm, at least here on the East Coast. So both Rob and my internet are affected at the moment. So hopefully things will remain stable, but we shall see. But let's see, in terms of things that's been happening around here, we're still steadily climbing up on the YouTube side of things. I think we're about to hit 2,100 here for the Game Wisdom YouTube channel. So
that is awesome.
Up. Thank you. For those of you who missed the announcement, the Patreon special reward for joining me for working on my next presentation is still up, and that will last until the end of July. So if you haven't gotten your money in yet, be sure to do that before July 31st. I'll make a few more announcements about it as we get closer. I guess another thing I was thinking about for next month in terms of Patreon was putting in some quality of life rewards, like maybe getting a better webcam, better mic, stuff like that, to see what people want to see. I guess for you, Rob, when you're doing your streaming, do you have like a professional grade mic, or do you use like a headset like me?
I would say mine's mid-grade. I do have a separate mic from a headset. I have a friend who's like partially deaf, and so he recommended all these things to me that were reasonably priced. I can't think offhand. I'm wearing it, so I can't think of the brand. One moment. No, it doesn't. Of course, it doesn't have the name on it. So.
Yeah, I know. I'm using a gaming headset for mine, which I know people like. Makes me look like a sports announcer.
It does.
But I was thinking about maybe getting a new webcam, or seeing there will be interest in maybe making that as a Patreon goal, because this webcam I'm using, that is an oldie. It looks like a 720p HD. It's at least like 8 or 9 years old at this point. So
right.
And the best part is when I started doing the vlogs for the Critical Thoughts and such, I haven't updated the drivers for this thing in like 10 years. I was like,
oh,
you
man.
have 10 years of updates. I was like, huh. I guess I should finally update this thing after all this time.
Yeah, you should also go for a green screen, so you can like on your videos just put yourself without anything behind you when you're playing games.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I have no idea how I would ever fit something in there. Like, are green screens expensive?
Just get a green piece of cardboard as long as you have some way to keep it stable.
Yeah,
and
maybe.
lit properly.
I don't know if it would work in this room. I'm very constrained in this mini little office area, but
yeah,
I would definitely like to see maybe getting a new webcam or stuff like that. XP suggesting a intro. I would love to have like a little anime intro for the videos, but that is way beyond my skill set in terms of video animation, stuff like that. What about you? Are you good at that stuff, Rob?
No, I'm just trying to get better and better at just having like a good slate before I start, and I also get like Creative Commons music. It takes a while to comb through before you find something good, but it's worth it sometimes.
When you stream, do you show yourself while you're playing the games, or do you leave it as just a full screen?
Just like here, my PC does not have a camera, so I just leave it at full screen. My laptop does, but I can't stream through my laptop, so that's just how it is.
Eh, I like to leave it. I like to leave myself off just because when I'm playing video games, I'm usually focused on the game, and I don't think people want to see me just staring at the screen for like 2.5 hours of me doing that kind of stuff.
I feel the same way. Although I watch Twitch all the time, and it seems like there's a lot of people who do that.
Hmm.
I guess people don't seem to mind so much, but yeah, I can't. I feel the exact same way as you.
And especially when I'm playing like Darkest Dungeon, I'm just wincing and grimacing for like an hour as I'm watching my guys die.
That's fun.
People don't see this, but when I was playing it the other night, I was just playing with my eyes closed like this, just waiting for all the critical hits and death's doors to pop up. Like they can hear me go like ugh or make those noises. They don't see me just like going with my my face color going, oh my god, I'm about to lose here.
Yeah, I watched you playing just a little while ago. I thought that was it is a game that's really difficult that you die a lot. It's always fun to get those reactions. I think that's very entertaining.
And speaking about games that are very entertaining to watch people fail, for those of you who don't know, the latest game from Edmund McMillan has been released, and that is The End Is Nigh. Have you heard of that one, Rob?
No, I haven't. I'm gonna write it down as always.
That is the latest balls to the wall extreme platformer. So
No.
if you know Super Meat Boy, this is basically
Oh,
Super Meat Boy, Super Meat Boy.
oh my God. Yeah, I played that a lot, and then I've watched speedrunners that just kind of make me never want to play the game again.
I finally decided to pick it up. I was hoping to get a press key for it, but it turns out no. And I figure at this point I played Binding of Isaac for at least 100 hours, so I think it's fair to give him a little bit more money. There will be for those of you watching this live, I'll have a video spotlight up for it tomorrow of me just literally minute one of playing. I mentioned this on Twitter, but the game opens up with someone trying to stream for an audience and there's no one watching. And I said, that hit a little close to home there, watching someone try and stream and there's zero audience.
Yeah. Same here.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Let's see. Comments in chat. Yeah, hopefully we'll see more from the Darkest Dungeon. The expansion, of course, came out about, I think it's been about a month. Again, time has no meaning for me. So we shall see what comes next from Sue. I've been trying to get in touch with Red Hook for an interview. I have not heard anything back. Maybe I'll send Chris or their community manager another buzz again. Also, for those of you watching this, if you have any connections to GDC or the speedrunners who run it, I would really like to talk to someone for an interview regarding speedrunning. It will also help me with the presentation I'm going to be working on. So if anyone has any contacts on that front, please let me know. Let's see. Huh. Oh, Shakedown Hawaii. Oh, that's the sequel to Retro City Rampage. That was kind of like a retro GTA style game with as many 8-bit and 80s movie parodies that you can think of. If you haven't played that one, Rob.
No, I have. That's one of those few that I actually have played. I thought that was a really cool concept, and I haven't played it all the way through. I would like to someday, but too many games, as always.
Yeah, I remember I got stuck somewhere, and then I just let the game go, basically, at that point.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Mm-hmm. Now, for those of you, I guess this is going to be a very, very early preview. I did a podcast today with Katie Holohan. Hope I didn't butcher her name too much, from Phoenix Online Games. They're a publisher for indie adventure games, if you've had a chance to hear of them.
I want to say that you mentioned them before because you were prepping for that interview last week, and so yeah, we had talked briefly about the adventure game genre.
Yeah, we talked about they did the fan-made game for King's Quest titled The Silver Lining, and they've been working on it for, I think she said, about 17 years.
Oh
So
my goodness.
it's finally coming out, or the final episode's finally coming out, hopefully by the end of 2017. They ran into a cease and desist issue between Vivendi and Activision over the King's Quest license, and they had to get that settled. And we talked about kind of what it meant to get a fan game license and the challenge of working on a fan game, especially when you're working on something of someone else's property like that.
Yeah, IP is a tricky business.
hmm And we talk about, of course, the pinball arcade and GOG and stuff like that, and it's just it can be a nightmare to deal with, especially when a game gets lost or the IP gets lost or shoveled around. Now, I don't think we talked about this last week, but I want to get your thoughts on it. Did we mention about the No One Lives Forever thing from Rock, Paper, Shotgun from last week?
I want to say yes. I have to look it up again. Oh, one. Oh,
No,
yes, we did. Yes, we did. I actually saw that a little bit today. But yeah, we did. I have to refresh my memory, so you might want to just do that for me. But I'm
it
clicking
was
on
about
links.
Rock, Paper, Shotgun basically posting the information about how to pirate the game because there was
Oh
no way
yeah,
to legally download it.
right. Yeah, that was a very cool thing. Yeah.
hmm So I guess what do you think about that? Like, I made a video about this last week regarding, like, I think there are extreme circumstances when piracy is okay if it's like if there's no legal way to acquire a video game. Like, there's no way to actually benefit the developers in any way, shape, or form. But again, it's a very slippery slope, I know.
Yeah, it is. It really is. I think that when you talk about that, for me, what comes to mind is MAME, um,
hmm
because the legal requirement for owning a MAME mod is owning the arcade machine or chipset. But no one's gonna. I mean, there's hardly anyone who owns that stuff except
hmm
the really hardcore arcade fans. So um, that is where it's one of those things where I think that Uh, it is okay, especially since most of those developers haven't, been involved in that game for 20, 30 years. Um, but yeah, for something like this where they deliberately release it or make it, give you the pirating information, that's certainly one thing. Oh, God, I mean that, like you say, it's a slippery slope. There's a lot of gray area, and certainly you don't want to do it to damage somebody. But at the same time, it's like you shrug and just throw caution to the wind when you're a developer. I don't know. It's a tough subject.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it's one of those cases where just reading the chat. Oh, here's something that's interesting. Um, Hank was asking for other dungeon crawler style games like The Darkest Dungeon. I mentioned Etriancy, but if you like managing a party, we talked about Zavix Tower. That's one of the games that Indie Voyage published, and I think we actually did a live chat with the developer like last year on that one, right?
Yeah, Chris McCauley. Yeah, he's a good guy. He's one of those indie developers is just trying to make it by. Zavix Tower certainly harkens back to that old school party based game.
Mm-hmm.
I played a couple of others that weren't too far off around that time, and that genre is certainly alive though struggling.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do enjoy it, so I try to seek them out when I can. So any recommendations, I will totally take on.
Yeah. And as El Gordo mentioned in chat, basically, whenever I think of party-based RPGs, the Etrian Odyssey series has always been my go-to. I know Atlas is currently working on Etrian Odyssey 5. Wait, are we up to 5? Yeah, we're up to 5. It's weird. They released 4, and then they did updates to 1 and 2. So they are currently working on number 5, which I'm excited about. And I got the announcement from. I know we brought up Yakuza last week. I'm pretty sure we did. I got the announcement from Sega that they're starting to get the press and preview coverage ready for the remake of Yakuza 1, which I think is going to be coming out in a few months.
That's cool. I mean, oddly enough, I do own one in that series, but I haven't because I haven't owned it on console. I don't even know if it's on PC, but yeah, I haven't had a chance to really play it.
Yeah. I'm I like the series. It's a very interesting take. It's really hard to describe. It's kind of like an RPG, except instead of turn-based battles, it's beat 'em up that you go through. And of course, all the men take off their shirts when they're about to fight, and they're all like super well built.
Oh, of course. That's
Hmm.
just how it is in real life.
Hmm. That's how everything gets settled, and I think it takes place. Yeah, it takes place in Japan. So yeah, whenever someone has an argument, they have to get into a fist fight, and then everyone's happy at the end after the fight is over.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, here's some interesting news. I heard that they're actually announced they're working on a sequel to Evil Genius. Have you heard of that one, Rob, from a few years ago?
I think so. Is that the sim game, or am I thinking of something else?
Yes, it was a top-down. You're basically building an evil lair and trying to take over the world game.
Yeah, I saw that on Steam. It was probably on my wish list somewhere. But yeah, that's one of those that style, that genre, that theme is very interesting to me.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the first one, but it was also very much a diamond in the rough kind of thing.
Hmm.
And let's see, I'm trying to see if there's any new news about it, and not much at the moment. But I'm hoping it turns out better, at least in terms of fixing the nagging issues that was left in the first one. If I can get it to work, I would love to do a dissecting design on it too. Let's see, I'm just trying to remember something else in the news. Evil Genius. It's not coming to me.
I saw
I.
a couple of things on VR,
Mm-hmm.
like the new Oculus VR, wireless VR system.
Hmm. Yeah. I guess. Do you have any VR, Rob?
I don't. That is the next purchase I'd like to save up for, but it will be a long time. I'm very interested in that, and it certainly is a whole new thing. But it is. I do have some problems with it in terms of how it works. Not I mean not technologically, but socially. So
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah. Oh, here's some news. I don't think we mentioned this last week. Did you hear, or actually, I think it just happened a few days ago? Did you hear about the plans for the new platform Jump?
No.
Jump, it was announced it's going to be a streaming service for indie games that you get yourself on the platform and you spend like $10, $11 a month and you get access to the catalog of games while they're on there. Basically, it's being coined, the Netflix for indie games kind of thing.
Oh, interesting. There was a service years ago, and I'm trying to remember what it was called.
Was it Game Tap?
Yeah, Game Tap. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, I had that, and
Mm-hmm.
they put a lot of money into that, and then it just kind of fizzled.
Yeah. When I was doing the video for talking about Jump, I could not remember Game Tap for like the entire length of that video until it was over. That's how I remember it right now.
Yeah.
And so the idea is you sign the contract, you get your game on there, and then you get paid based on the amount of time people play your game. So they're trying to go for a very curated system, so only like the best or unique indie games should apply. And the point of it is that they're trying to fight discoverability issues, but it's still kind of up in the air if this is really going to work or if it's just going to be another case of the rich getting richer.
And that's just another one of those ball of wax can of worms type things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, it is. It's when you grab indie games that are popular. Well, they're
Mm-hmm.
popular, so
Yeah.
of course you're going to try to get them. But trying to discover an indie game that is good, that you want the people to have. I mean, you got to do a lot of research. You got to find
Mm-hmm.
a lot of community that believes in the game, or you just have to take a chance.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a tough business model.
Yeah. And as a bit of a fun detail, I emailed Jump the other day, and I'm right now trying to talk to the head of the company to get them on for a podcast, either recorded or live. So fingers crossed I can get it because I would definitely want to talk to them more about, you know, how they're trying to avoid some of these pitfalls that, as you mentioned, Game Tap kind of fell into a few years ago. And of course, just the fact of, trying to fight discoverability with a platform that's meant to, profile really great games.
Yeah, yeah, it is tough. And when you are taking the same games as other platforms have,
Mm-hmm.
um, especially if people already own those games, it's one of those, do I make that, so to speak, into that particular platform if I already own half the games on Steam. I guess that's going to be a problem a lot of people face, I'm guessing.
Yeah. And I think like what Hank is saying in chat that they're trying to position again like Netflix. Like this is for people who don't want to spend a lot of money on video games. They rather, spend $10 a month, play whatever the hell they want during that time, and then, they don't have to worry about buying these games or downloading stuff or anything like that. So I mean, there's definitely, I think, room for that. Again, the whole streaming Netflix model is still very new and weird for like me growing up without ever having that. But obviously, it has become very popular. I guess for you, Rob, do you like streaming services, or are you more of a traditional TV or traditional watcher?
Oh, I've given up cable. Yeah, we're all Netflix, Hulu, HBO Now,
I'm
and
an
Amazon
old
Prime.
man. I'm just an
Yeah.
old man.
Oh, well, I'm 8 years older than you according to your thing, so I'm feeling all spry now.
Good. And again, and I do see the appeal of that. Again, you don't have to worry about huge cable bills. And I mean, for a lot of people, you're never going to watch everything that's on Netflix in a month. So you're not really too constrained by, what they take off or what they add on. And again, it's one of those things I think for a lot of younger people who are getting into it's probably easier. But like my whole life has been with a cable TV service. But who knows? Maybe things will change in the coming year.
Yeah, I mean, with all the content that they're actually building that's unique
Hmm.
on Netflix and Hulu and HBO and Amazon, all those people being able to make really high quality shows and movies, it's harder and harder to argue that you can find the same stuff on TV as you can there
Hmm.
online.
Yeah. I still need to, speaking of which, I still need to finally watch the rest of Twin Peaks. I've been trying to go through like one at a time because I don't think my mind can handle watching like 3 or 4 episodes of it in one evening.
Yeah, I haven't checked out the new one. I recently rewatched the old series on Netflix, and that certainly brought me up to date. But I'm really interested in how this new one's going to look.
Hmm. Did you have a chance to watch the Castlevania anime that people keep talking about?
I saw it appear on Netflix. I just put it on my wish list, and it's the same thing as Steam. Once I can find my way there, I'll check it out.
Yeah, I guess at some point I'll have to. Whenever I get like the free subscription again, they give out like those 30 days like every 5 6 months. Maybe I'll try to section off some time and just watch as much of it as I can within the 30 days.
Yeah, I have friends who just hop from one to the other, paying $10 one month at Netflix and then go to Hulu and whatever. It's so easy to just binge or whatever you want.
Hmm. Now the thing, like going back to Jump and some of the comments in the chat, the thing that they're promising, which is very interesting, is that it's all using some kind of I forget the term they use, but it's all going to be done through the browser. So you're not going to have to download or put anything on your hard drive to play the indie games. And they're saying no ads and any downloadable content will be included in the game. So again, I think this goes back to what we were saying a few minutes ago that it's going to be very tricky to find the right indie games for this. Because if you have a well known, very popular game, why would you go on a service like this and not, of course, stay on Steam or Humble Bundle? So I just wonder, again, as you said, what indie games will work best for this model?
I almost wonder that indie games that have run through their life cycle might be good to have a resurgence here.
Hmm.
I know that GameTap did that. You could play a lot of the really old school arcade games, which was great for me. I loved that. And that's just a place that's a thing you can't really get. So a lot of the indie games that are a little older that, are like 1 year or more where people have forgotten all about them, it might be a good place for them to go to and find a new audience.
Yep. And that can certainly work, especially as we've talked about with the limited lifespans for a lot of video games. Is it still? I know I've spoken to a few developers about this. It's still considered like 30 to 45 days, right? Is usually like the most optimal window after launch for the game to make its money.
Yeah, I mean, that's when you get your giant spike, but then it is one of those things you can just get nickels and dimes for the rest of it for years after. But yeah, that is your prime time to shine, to coin a phrase.
Mm-hmm. We're saying jump is the elephant cemetery. You never know. Again, especially it depends on who they're marketing it to. Like, obviously, if you're a Steam user, I don't think it's going to be as thrilling for you. But if they can attract like casual audiences, and again, people who don't normally buy a lot of games, $10 a month to play like 100 video games sounds pretty damn good. But like for myself, I don't see it because again, if I'm going to play these games, I'd rather just buy them on sale and then I have them forever and ever and ever.
Yeah, and they also run that inevitable problem that most of these things have, and that is a library that just is not going to diminish. It's just going to get bigger year by year, and so you're just going to wind into that problem where things become this soup, where all these games that got in on it are now just part of the background noise again.
Mm-hmm. And that's the other big trick is, again, like if you're only getting paid by the viewership or the play of your game, I mean, eventually that's just going to all die down unless they just keep having new people coming in to keep playing these games. So it seems like it's going to be something that's going to be really great for 1 month and then it should just like quickly diminish, I think.
Yeah, they're going to have to be very agile in terms of their reaction to fans and game players alike.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I found that was very interesting, I was reading this article on Gamma Sutra where someone was writing all about the complexity of slot machines. And it's very interesting, again, about all the work that goes into that, despite how little interaction there is on the player's end.
Yeah, it's interesting. I actually happen to work in the gambling section as my day job, and it's just such a fascinating area. And oddly enough, I was having this conversation with my mom last night. I saw this article today before the show, and yeah, I got to talk to like an award-winning slot game designer, and he was talking to me about how the math works and how you use the math to give people a unique experience on the slot machines. And he's like, it's like orchestrating, music because players come in and they really like slot machines. They're very knowledgeable about how a game feels in terms of the math, and they'll very much understand how the flow is and all that kind of stuff. And it just kind of blew my mind as to how in depth this stuff actually was and how much art there was to it.
Mm-hmm. Now, for longtime fans of Game Wisdom, you know that coming from a family who unfortunately has a few gambling addicts in it, that the whole slot machine kind of craze is, completely out. Like, it's not something that I'm going to be enjoying. But again, it's one of those very interesting markets in terms of its design, especially when you're trying to balance, again, giving the person a unique experience, but of course, getting money as well.
Yeah, usually, and I got to go to a conference for this stuff too for work, and it really is. It's very eye-opening what they have there and what like the technology they have in individual slot machines is just mind-boggling these days. Like they have 3D screens, so you can just sit down and have a 3D experience with the slot machine. They have these powerful IP. They're starting to bring video games into it, like Plants vs. Zombies has their own slot machine, and they really cater to just about every type of person who has any interest in slot machines these days.
Oh yes, I've been out to Las Vegas a few times in my life, and there are a lot of slot machines there, to say the least.
Yeah, and it takes so much time to get a slot machine approved by the commissions, like a year practically, to have your mathematical model approved. So it's just so expensive and so hit and miss. Like if you miss out, if you miss your swinging for that slot machine thing, if you accidentally copy someone else's IP or whatever, yeah, you've just invested hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in a dud.
Yeah, but now Goro was talking about, I did a vlog and a post about this last year. There were plans to have a gaming casino or a video game that you gamble. You basically gamble on whether or not you can win or complete the task in time, and then depending on how well you do, will determine how much money is your payback. And the idea was tested around here last October, and there's been no word about it since, so I don't know how things are going.
Well, there are a couple out there. I mean, the place I work for, B Spot, not to drop any names here, but like they do, they've moved into kind of a slot machine look. Well, initially, the whole concept was to take a mobile game and inject the whole wagering thing in there. And I worked for a company years ago called Skill Jam. And now they're owned by the Gameplay Network, so that's their name now. But they did Skill Play, which is like you play Bejeweled, I play Bejeweled, the highest score gets the pot. And of course, skill has now gone into poker and now into fantasy. It's man, that area of the world is so like under the surface and huge at the same time. It's mind blowing.
Yeah. And the chat was mentioning there should be a Darkest Dungeon slot machine.
I saw that. That was hilarious.
Oh yeah, just pull pull the lever and it won't even spin. It'll just say nope, try again. We don't even need a spin for that one. But one interesting part, again, what's been talking about is regarding gambling elements in free-to-play games, and of course the big term there is loot boxes. And I know this year or last year there was reports. I think it's now being considered. I think in China that all games with loot box mechanics must now divulge their percent chances.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, certainly, I can see that kind of thing as being a huge, like, almost money laundering service, because you're buying and selling this stuff that doesn't really exist. But yeah, loot boxes are crazy. I'm playing Vainglory, and you do get that same thing, a random whatever, in order to increase your character's abilities. They claim not to do pay to win, but there certainly are some subtleties where, in order to unlock characters, you have to pay for them, and some characters are just going to help you win better depending on the team you have. So it is a very tough nut to crack, and certainly hard for someone to get on board with who isn't interested in that kind of thing.
And I know, of course, the big draw of the whole loot box is the gotcha design. Stuff like Fire Emblem Echoes, and there's a new South Park game that people were talking about that was released, I think, on mobile and iOS, I think 2-3 weeks ago. The phone mobile battle, something like that.
Yeah, you'd mentioned that last week. I haven't actually looked into it.
Yeah. But yeah, it's always, again, it's one of those things that's very polarizing for a lot of people. Of course, you mentioned the ever dreaded term pay to win. And the second a game gets tagged with that, you can just say goodbye to your audience because they're just not going to stick around. And yep, go ahead.
I was just going to say hardcore gamers are very knowledgeable, very smart, and will, like you say, will just strike you down if you cross them.
Yeah. And Hank brought up CSGO, and that's another really big example. There's been reports, of course, of illegal gambling sites and people being arrested or tried for basically trying to manipulate people into using their skin sites, or you gamble and earn money that way, or trying to get around Steam's policy there.
Yeah. These people are clever when it comes to stuff that's illegal or illicit or just banned. Like the story that I always bring up is pachinko in Japan, where it's illegal to gamble. You play pachinko, and someone can correct me if I'm totally off base, but this is what I'm aware of. You basically use like a skee ball ticket system where you take the pachinko balls, you trade them in for a prize, and then you go across the street and sell that prize for the money. So you're getting around those rules by following all these other rules and cheesing the system.
Yeah, when I did my research for the arcade industry presentation that I put together last year, I think they said something along the lines of that you can trade in the pachinko balls, but it cannot be within a certain distance of the parlor that you played in. So you can basically trade them in for money, but you have to go, walk like 2 blocks down to a place instead of doing it right on site.
Yeah. It's, again, people are weird.
But as we said, whenever you bring gambling and a lot of money into play, they will find a way. There will always be a way to do something along those lines.
Yeah, money drives a lot of innovation amongst people. Me, I don't have any idea how that works. I wish I did, but I innovate on just kind of if I have some kind of idea. Usually it doesn't pan out.
hmm Yeah, and like with the whole loot box system, it is very tricky in terms of, again, like how you really build your game around it without being too exploitive. Like, well, the most popular option, of course, is just making it all cosmetic, like they do with Overwatch and Killing Floor. But again, it always seems weird, I think, to a lot of people when you're basically paying for the chance of getting something, and then if you don't get it, then you're just out money essentially.
Yep. Yep. I know that there's a lot of the games online, like my wife and I play a match three game that like Disney made, and you can basically buy currency to open these chests to find the characters, but it will give you characters you already have, and certainly they stack in terms of ability, but what's the fun in getting a character you already have? You're trying to collect everything, and I know a lot of games use that same exact model, and
Mm-hmm. Think you cut out there again, Rob.
oh, did I? I'm so sorry. I apologize for my internet. They should apologize to me.
Yeah. Let's see. And of course, the other big thing about that kind of gambling and the whole loot box system, as Agora mentioned, is with games aimed at children. And of course, talking to people or getting people who've never experienced loot boxes and slot machine design, and of course, having them pay lots and lots of money.
Yeah, that's also tricky because you walk through a casino and you're like, most of these games would totally appeal to little kids. And then you go to a modern arcade and all these games appeal to kids, and you realize it's basically a kid's version of a casino
Yeah.
because you put money in, you get tickets out, and it's just all random. It's a very strange world, modern arcades.
Oh yes, and as I did in my presentation, like the prime of the arcade industry or the prime years are definitely past, but there are still companies trying to keep things going. Agora mentioned, of course, Konami a few minutes ago. Like in Japan, the arcade industry is still very much, or it still is a lot bigger than it is around here. But I think the mobile market is quickly overtaking things over there as well.
Yeah, and I think he was mentioning. Oh boy, something fell. I think he was mentioning that Konami is actually big in the slot machine business too. They are that two-headed monster, which is always crazy to hear.
Slot machine and of course pachinko. If anyone remembers the Metal Gear Solid 3 pachinko machine.
Yeah, I watched. Oh my God, the YouTube videos of people winning in some of those pachinko machines is just ridiculous. Like when you hit the jackpot, it takes like 5 minutes for everything to happen. It's so crazy and very involved.
hmm And again, people just want to play Metal Gear. They don't want the pachinko action.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course, Sega's still big. And again, it's very interesting about I was watching when I was doing my presentation. I looked up some like the big name games, like the really popular ones from Japan, and I was just thinking to myself, if those games would have came over here, I think they would have done really well, at least during the heights of the arcade. Stuff like this football manager game where you use trading cards for your team, and like these massive booths for Gundam, where you just like get in there as a complete online experience while you're piloting a Gundam for like 5 to 10 minutes.
Those are, yeah, a lot of, I really wish, and I know there's a lot of gamers out there who really wish that a lot of the games that didn't make it or didn't come over from Japan really should have and would have. I know there's entire communities that are dedicated to getting those games and playing them.
hmm I'll have to check out that video too about Metal Gear Pachinko. I want to see just how crazy it was. Oh yeah, that's right. There's that Rick and Morty free to play or pocket game as well that's been doing well for Adult Swim. Oh, COC Clash of Clans. Oh yes, those games have really gotten a handle on the whole system of monetized progression. There we go.
Yeah, yeah, I really like really they have a stranglehold on it.
Several hours and money to complete. I've been playing an idle game in my spare time, which is actually offer some depth, but even then, you can only do so much with the genre. I think the same goes for the slot machine, because I'm sure, like, if you've had any experience or have looked into things, Rob, that when it comes to slot machine design, there's a lot of complexity, but it still has to be limited based on, the standard laws of gambling and probability.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and that it is weird because I mean it changes from, of course, state to state and country to country.
Mm-hmm.
So if you make a slot machine, you basically have to make several, just like porting a console game for the various rules in various states, Vegas and Atlantic City, and certainly Europe or England in particular that has the fruit machines that operate completely differently. It's bizarre. We even have slot machines in Oregon that are based on lottery system. It's like it's I don't know how I came about all this knowledge except professionally, and it's strange to me. If I had talked to myself as a kid, I'd be like, how do you know all that weird stuff? It's strange.
Mm-hmm. I guess, let's see, is there anything else going on to talk about this week? Again, we're in the middle of summer, so the high profile games were in between, I guess, big news that's happening. I guess, have you heard anything on your end, Rob, in terms of like industry topics?
Not really, but last week we had talked about Gods Will Be Watching. I went ahead and bought that
Ah.
and played it, and boy, that game is. It really is. It's evil in so many different ways. It is a very difficult game. I played the regular mode and had to bump myself down to like the wussiest possible
Yes.
mode just to get through it. And yeah, it is hard for someone like me to actually play it. It's like very visceral. I know a lot of people don't see it as that, and I know there's some complaints in that regard. But for me, it really worked.
Mm-hmm. Did you beat the entire game, or did you get like how far in?
I got to the second area where you're getting tortured,
Mm-hmm.
and I tried to get through that whole thing. I ran out of time. It was a few nights ago, and I just had to end it. I mean, that was basically ending it for me, but in terms of playing it over and over again until I beat it, was
Mm-hmm.
not able to.
Yeah, I had to lower it down to easy. I got as far as the third level, and then I just got really tired of the game. I just didn't want to play it anymore.
That makes sense. I mean, when you make a game that is that difficult and not in terms of Twitch gaming,
Mm-hmm.
there's not much to learn except just how the pattern goes. And if they don't give you any real clues, then it's just like banging your head against the wall. It's kind of pointless.
Mm-hmm. Did you play any more of Path of Exile since we last talked?
No, actually, I have not. I haven't picked that one up again. I'm tempted to because I saw they came out with some new additions, so I might give it another shot.
Mm-hmm. We're right now T-minus 7 days for Diablo 3 Season 11, so when that starts, I guess I'll be getting back to the Necromancer and see how things go there.
I'm gonna have to. I still have never played Diablo 3. I'm gonna have to. I really do have to check it out. I really do.
Let's see, XP's asking, play games with a pen and paper. I don't do too much. I really have never done pen and paper games for myself. What about you, Rob?
Yeah, I played a bunch in college, and I mean, I was spoiled. I had a great DM. Played for a couple of years with the same character, leveled up a lot. It was really cool. But I mean, I do really appreciate a good pen and paper game, and I know the variety of them out there has really expanded, and certainly they have different styles where there's actually no paper anymore in some of them, or just are very simple and quick to play. Someone just turned me on to God, I can't remember the name. It was like D20 or some website where just you go and find a community of people to play with online. And I know it's been around for years, but I just found out about it. I might try it out.
Nice. I'm hopefully going to try and talk with Sandy Pearson again. Do you know the tabletop game Cthulhu Wars?
No. Oh wait. I know a few Cthulhu-related tabletop games. I don't think that one is one of them.
It's a very apparently it's a very big one. Let me see. Do I have the email here?
That is the one, Hank. Thank you.
Where is it? Oh, I got a copy for this game called Yonder Chronicles. I need to check out. I can't. Let me see. And it's supposed to be an open world adventure game, but I haven't had a chance to really sit down and play. So maybe I'll give it a go tonight if I get reined in or something like that. Where is it? I just had it. Ah, here it is. Cthulhu Wars, that's the one. And they're getting ready for a very big Kickstarter for, I think it's the third expansion or the third revision of it. And hopefully, if things go well, I'll be able to chat with Sandy live sometime maybe next week regarding what they're planning on doing for the Kickstarter, the reward, stuff like that. My contact sent over like a preview for the Kickstarter page, which unfortunately I can't show you right now because it's still in work. But yeah, like it's one of those games where they have like some ridiculously big like figurines and stuff like that for it. So hopefully it will do well for them. Again, I'm not a tabletop player by trade, so if I think it looks cool, it probably is like 10 times more amazing for fans of that kind of genre.
Yeah, and I can see where they would totally want to do that. I mean, given the most recent board games that have been up there on Kickstarter, there is money out there for the board games. My goodness, it was like $12 million. I can never even remember the name of that game. $12 million for a board game. It was
Oh
crazy.
yes, I know which one you're talking about.
I think you're the one who told me about it, in fact.
Yeah, but I cannot remember the name of it too. And yeah, I could just sit here and look at it. Yeah. Like for myself, again, like most of the tabletop games I played were thanks to Tabletop Simulator. So in terms of actually sitting down and playing something, I have not done that. Oh yeah, that's right. There was that Paint and Play Might and Magic game that I previewed. Ooh, wow. When did I preview that? Again, I've lost all track of time. Probably like earlier this year. Let me see. Might and Magic Showdown? Was that it? Oh, it's not even. Oh, that's weird. Or was it Heroes of Might and Magic? Oh, I'm not even seeing it on the list anymore. That's weird. Let me see if I can do a quick Google of it while I'm trying to talk. But yeah, with the Cthulhu Wars, I'm really hoping that it does well for them. I cannot remember that game either, the one that did $12 million. For those of you watching, remember our chat. Do you remember what that name was? Let's see.
I was just looking up. It says like Kingdom Death might have been it.
Could be. Here is Might and Magic. Oh, wait. Is that right?
No, it wasn't.
Oh no, they've canceled Might and Magic Showdown. Well, that's why I didn't find it on Steam. Yep, it has been, according to, as of yesterday, it was shut down. Ooh, it had a player peak of 79. That doesn't sound good for an online game like that. Ooh. And what was that game you said, Kingdom?
Kingdom Death Monster 1.5. I'm writing down the title. So if you do a search for that on Kickstarter, you get to see the lovely amounts they won. $12.4 million rounding up.
Let's see. Is this it? Kingdom Death. That's 2 million. That can't be right. Must be a different
That
one.
was that was the first one. I mean, it's crazy. This guy raised millions of dollars off of two different games, so he's doing something right.
Oh yes, definitely. Whew. And here's Kingdom Death Monster. There it is, $12 million. Whew-wee. I think I said the exact same thing when I brought that up the last time. And again, like there is just a whole microcosm when it comes to these tabletop games with expansions, additional cards, figurines. It's the same thing that I was looking at with Sandy's Kickstarter for Cthulhu Wars 3. Like again, for like someone like me, I see this and I'm like, I have absolutely no idea what I'm looking at. And I'm sure for people who know tabletop gaming, they're going to probably throw money at him pretty easily. Oh yeah, that's right, Oscar. They did a Fire Pro Wrestling is being re-released or something like that on Steam right now.
Yeah, I saw that. It was very curious. I was like, that looks interesting, but I was hoping there would be more to it than just the wrestling. It seems like there's a lot of stats and stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
I was hoping there was a story or something. That's what I'm used to these days.
Mm-hmm. Here it is, Fire Pro Wrestling World. And for someone watching this who knows this, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Suda51 work on a wrestling game back in the day? If you don't know who Suda51 is, he's the very interesting Japanese developer behind Killer 7, No More Heroes. Very crazy games kind of thing. Hmm. Yeah. I mean, it looks okay. Again, I'm not a big wrestling fan either, so I don't know if what I'm looking at is amazing or just par for the course. I think the last time I owned a wrestling game was like WrestleMania for the Sega Genesis, way back a long, long time ago.
Hmm.
Mm. Oh, so I was right. He did work on a wrestling game because a lot of his games have wrestling themes or wrestling Easter eggs in them. But once again, I'm just staring at this Kickstarter for Kingdom. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, when you look at the rewards and see what people paid in the Kickstarter, and I imagine what people did is they got a group together to buy the game with all these different expansions. Because I mean, you're not going to be able to, you won't want to buy the game without having a group to play with, because that's pointless. But I do know a lot of groups from Los Angeles. They had a bunch of great game playing groups, and they in fact had three cons a year near the airport, and you just go there for an entire weekend, play whatever board games you want, join tournaments, win prizes. It's really cool, and they have a really, dang it, I keep knocking stuff over. They really have a good community. And I learned a lot about board games in that very short period of time, and I've since not paid any attention to what's coming out.
Yeah. And again, like when we talked about like the whole Warhammer or 40K miniatures market, I mean that is one of those things that you really have to just go like all in if you really want to appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah, you really do. And there's a bunch of those out there. Like I would go to there and they'd have a whole room sectioned off for just those crazy people. And yeah, they'd have like giant plane models that were like a foot across, and they'd really, it would be all strategically placed, and they'd be using like a shuffleboard like stick to move them. It was ridiculous.
Like the war room kind of thing when you're moving the figures around the giant map of the world.
Exactly, and that is exactly what they go for. That exact feeling. It's crazy. And those games last like 6 to 8 hours,
Oh yeah,
or longer, or longer.
that is not going to be like around here anytime soon. Like I don't have any room for that. Oh god, I couldn't sit there for 60 hours and play one game.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a marathon.
Mm-hmm. All right. I think we are about to hit like an hour in. Are there any topics you want to discuss for tonight, Rob, or do you want to wrap it up?
I'm thinking. I'm looking at the stuff I wrote down. I don't think there's anything that interests me, or not like stuff. Plenty of stuff interests me that I just didn't write down. But I mean, we did cover a lot of stuff tonight. Wow, we went across the gamut:
Oh yeah.
video games, gambling, mobile, board games. It's hard to find more. So, oh, and streaming services for movies and games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a lot to cover.
Mm-hmm. And there's always so much more to talk about.
Yeah, always. Gosh, such a weird industry this.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully there'll be more news to bring up for next week as well. All right, I think with that we'll wrap things up. Hopefully our internet will hold out. I know for me around here on the East Coast, we're going to be hit with a massive storm sometime starting this tonight and probably going all day Friday. So hopefully I won't get too rained out. And there will be a podcast up for tomorrow, which once again, I'm not sure who I'm up to in terms of my backlog, but I'm slowly but surely working on that. So be sure to check that out on GameWisdom.com. I started thinking of ideas for an ebook, which I'm going to hopefully try and maybe do like a rough draft or come up with something, and then see where I can take it from there. Let's see. Ah, got the luckiest trains on Darkest Dungeon. Nice. Alright, for those of you watching this live right now, we are going to wrap it up here. I will be back probably in 40 minutes to an hour, and we'll do some Darkest Dungeon and see how far we get through it. Like I said, if you want to see some play of The End Is Nigh, that will be up on the channel later today if you're watching this recorded. And let me know if you want to see more of it here. But otherwise, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Check out game-wisdom.com for daily discussions or daily pieces on game design industry. And Rob, if you wouldn't mind, you can plug your Twitch stream and let people know where to find you.
Sure. I'm at /IndieVoyageRob on Twitch, and I'm going to try something very new starting, I think, tomorrow. And I'm just going to make a fish tank of Planet Coaster, because you can actually hook a camera up to somebody and let them walk around whatever park and just go on it as if they're in a theme park. I'm just going to do that. I'm going to leave home. I'm going to press go and let it stream while I'm at work, and I'll watch it at work. I'm just interested to see if anyone has any interest in that. People make these giant parks and with all this detail, and you can't really appreciate it because you don't see it from a customer's perspective. So I figure, why not give it a shot?
Yeah, one of these days I do need to pick up Planet Coaster and just check it out and see if I can make something that can actually run from start to finish without maiming or going flying off the track somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, you can make whatever. It's ridiculous. I'm going to keep plugging Planet Coaster until they start paying me for it. That's my goal.
If you get a free copy of it, let me know. Like, they won't throw you something there.
That would be awesome, but I doubt that happen. But I will certainly send one your way if I get one.
Nice. All right, so we're going to wrap it up here. Oh yeah, I did play the indie game. Elgor, you mentioned this Serial Cleaner, which is kind of like a stealth game where you're cleaning up murder scenes in the 70s. Kind of an interesting game. I think I'll try to write a review for that next week as well. Yeah, some of the theme park games did let you write in first person, but probably nothing on the scale as Planet Coaster.
Yeah, you can definitely run for first person there, and I mean, just Google some of the rides. If you look up Moana, like the movie, and Planet Coaster, this guy made, it's just the time that they spend to make these models and the experience of the ride. I don't even know how to explain it. It's ridiculous.
Nice. And also, continuing about indie game coverage, again, if you're an indie developer watching this or know someone who's working on a game, we are looking for game submissions over here on Game Wisdom. So tell them to get in touch with me, and I'll see if I can help them out by spotlighting the game here. But with that said, thanks for tuning in again, Rob. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. This, I guess, this prelude to a storm that's, I think, about to hit everyone here on the East Coast.
Yeah, stay dry and safe, and yeah, that's always great being here. I really have a good time here.
Nice. All right, so with that said, I guess we will chat again next week, and we'll see what happens there. So, thanks again for watching. Again, if you're watching this live, be sure to tune in later tonight for more Darkest Dungeon. And of course, if you're watching this recorded, you can find all the videos here on the Game Wisdom YouTube channel. So, until next time, have a great evening, and for those of you also on the East Coast, stay dry as well. Until next time, have a great night.